Welcome everyone to the second instalment of our video series on helping businesses navigate the coronavirus pandemic and its aftermath. Last month we caught up with Paige Collins on the government schemes available to businesses. Some of these are due to run out over the next few months. So today we will be looking at different ways that businesses can prepare as best as they can for an uncertain future. So Paige, based on your work and insights, how have your clients fared overall during the last few months?
Hi, Kat. It's an interesting question because obviously it's been lots of different things to different businesses. I think when we initially went into lockdown some 12, 14 weeks ago, most of us thought we'd only be locked down for maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks. And so it was a very short sort of timescale for thinking about how your business had to be. But obviously here we are some 14 weeks later, and obviously business is only just coming out of lockdown and with the restrictions easing, and businesses are necessarily looking at their sort of business model in a very much a different way. And there's been quite a lot of challenging times for people. The initial 2 or 3 weeks, I think people looked at it and saw it as an opportunity just to sort of reflect on their business. And as time's gone on, they've been much more innovative in ways of looking at what they're doing. And some industry sectors have been more impacted by the virus than others. Yeah, we have clients that haven't been impacted at all by the virus. It's kept on trading pretty much as normal. But they've been sort of manufacturing businesses that have been supporting the effort to fight the COVID pandemic sort of thing. Others have been much more impacted, particularly those, say, in the events and leisure and entertainment industries, where they've had to postpone events during the course of the last 12, 14 weeks. Initially, they were postponed because they thought they might come out the other side. Then they've been cancelled, and all the implications that has in terms of how you deal with customers, how you deal with refunds, and how you then make your business more sustainable going forward and looking into next year. So it's been really challenging times, but some businesses have been quite innovative. Some have taken the opportunity to look at their business and make it a much more online business model than maybe a retail sort of business model. And others have been using the time to sort of change the way they're doing things. You know, takeaways for restaurants, for example, that didn't do takeaways before. And even pubs becoming corner shops to support the local community. So there's been some innovation going on within the business community, which is good to see.
Absolutely. And you've referred to it, but I would imagine that business owners have gone from initially just trying to survive the lockdown months to now actually having to plan further ahead and potentially looking at the next 6 to 12 months. So what 5 bits of advice would you give to them?
Well, obviously, the most important thing is to plan and don't stop planning over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, really. I think it's people have been looking at that. Different businesses initially have been planning how to effectively get their business up and running again. And then once you've done that, it's a question of looking at what you do going forward. So it's having a business plan, be innovative, look at your cash flow and look at your margins are really important things to do. You know, cash flow, a lot of businesses have been supported by the government through the furlough scheme, through C-bills or bounce back loans, and even the local council grants that have been available for various different business sectors. And they've necessarily helped cash flow over the short term. So quite a lot of businesses have seen their cash flow almost improve over the short term, but that's going to have an impact as that cash gets consumed in the business and the level of activity is reducing. So very important to put a business plan together, be innovative what you're doing, and looking at that. I mean, margins is quite important. And I've been reading articles over the weekend where a lot of businesses are seeing, you know, only being able to have 40 to 50% of their usual customer base coming in, and they've actually put their prices up. And I think that's necessarily the case to make sure you can have a sustainable business model. And so a lot of businesses will be thinking about perhaps reducing their pricing, but actually it's the time they should be looking at actually increasing their pricing so that they can afford to keep the business going forward and supporting the economy overall generally.
Okay. What other options are there in terms of further grants or loans available to businesses?
Obviously, there's been a number of grants and schemes made available by the government to support the business community and individuals. But they're sort of coming to an end during the course of the next 2 or 3 months. Furlough scheme obviously changed on the 1st of July to become a more flexible approach to workers and how you engage workers coming back to work on a full-time basis or even on a part-time basis. And the furlough scheme runs out at the end of October. But there is news that potentially the Chancellor is going to announce some further changes and support for various different business sectors, probably to do with restaurant, pubs and those sort of businesses which need more support ongoing, and also the sort of cinemas and theatres that will be struggling to have social distancing as part of what they're doing. But obviously the bounce back loans and the CBILS loans are still available, and I think it's important that businesses actually look and decide whether they haven't applied for those already, should they do so now before perhaps they stop being available. So I think that's an important thing to look at as well.
Great. So amongst your clients and business contacts, what would you say is the general feeling at the moment?
I think it has to be one of relief that we're coming out of lockdown, to be fair, as a starting point. But I think they've all been looking at their businesses and taking the time to reflect on what their businesses will look like going forward, what the new normal might be. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, most businesses are seeing maybe 40 or 50% of the usual customer base coming in. But one or two business sectors have seen a bit of a bounce, been pent-up demand. There's been a lot of house completions, for example, over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks, which might not have been expected. And certainly the motor trade's seen a bit of a bounce in terms of pent-up demand for people buying new cars and things like that. But this bounce might just last a sort of month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then perhaps fall away slightly. And then it's just a question of where that new normal sort of sits overall.
Okay. And are you seeing any other changes in the way people are running their business that perhaps are here to stay?
I mean, obviously working from home was a small part of what some people did in terms of the working arrangements they had. But I think with the way that technology has driven working from home, making it much more sustainable for businesses to have people working from home, I think the use of office space will change. And I think that's one of the big factors that will come out of there's the whole pandemic and how people have been working more remotely, is that workers will see it as a much better work-life balance in terms of working from home, but still see the need for the office environment and actually being in the office and being collaborative with their fellow workers in a 3-dimensional way rather than a 2-dimensional way through Zoom and things like that. But thank goodness for technology. It's been very innovative, technology's moved on, and certainly as a business we've seen and engaged with our clients much more through the use of technology than we ever might have imagined even 6 months ago. So I think that's one of the things that will change is the use of office space, certainly for sort of professional services businesses, people with office space generally.
Great. Certainly very, very interesting times. Thank you, Paige, for your insights. As always, if there are any specific questions, the Hartley Fowler teams in Wimbledon, Brighton will be very happy to help. And hopefully we'll do another one of those videos soon. So if you've got any ideas on what you would like us to talk about next time, please get in touch. Thank you.